Hello and welcome to the You Recommended This podcast. I'm Harry.
And I'm Deal.
How you doing, mate?
Hi, I'm tip-top, all good today.
Nice one.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm also good. Yeah. So last week, I recommended the Florida Project for you, and you recommended As Good as It Gets for me. And this week we're going to review these films. So would you like me to go first?
Yeah, why not?
Cool. So As Good as It Gets is a film about a guy who he's kind of living with a certain mental illness, and he's a bit of a dick. He's
Yeah.
People don't really like him.
A bit.
Yeah, obviously played by Jack Nicholson. And people don't really like him, and he just kind of lives his own life the way he wants to live it, regardless of anyone else. And it's the story of what happens when he gets involved with a waitress and his next door neighbor. Certain events lead to them getting to know each other a little bit better. And then the story goes on from there. And the first thing I'll say about this film is the acting is just next level. It's so good. There's like one scene with Helen Hunt in the kitchen of her house where she's like breaking down about her son, and it's just next level acting. Jack Nicholson. What do you expect? It's Jack Nicholson. He's just awesome. And even the supporting characters, the next door neighbor, thought he was great. And I loved the road trip they went on as well.
Yeah.
And it's a real story about, these three characters who they're each struggling in life in their own certain way, and it's about how they come together, and they really kind of the relationships they build with each other help their lives in a certain way. And it's really fun to see that character growth throughout the film. Hans Zimmer's score, that was really, really nice. Obviously, huge Hans Zimmer fans here, and that's one I'd not listened to. So it's very, very good to listen to new Hans Zimmer during a film. Always gets me a bit excited.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought highlights as well with the script. The script, the characters, the acting, the music. It had good emotional payoffs throughout the film. So yeah, I think overall I'd give it maybe, I don't know, like a 7.1 out of 8.
Fair. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's definitely one I'd want to revisit.
Yeah.
And I didn't know anything about it, which is why I've kept this review quite vague. But we can get into spoilers a little bit now. And actually, if you want to talk about why you picked it first and what you liked about it.
Oh, okay. Well, I picked it first and foremost is because I know that you're a big Jack Nicholson fan, and that when I watched it, I thought that it was just an incredible performance from him. Just as good as anything I've seen of him. And also, as you say, like just the acting of it and the fact that it was the three people with three completely different lives that somehow they start off in one place and they're going through their own battles, and then they end up somewhere where you think of what they're like, what's happened at the start of the film, and then you look at what at the end of the film, and it's almost like it doesn't feel forced either, does it? Like it never feels like that this wouldn't unnatural, because where you see. Yeah. Where you see Helen Hunt's character and what happens with her, which we can talk about more.
Mm-hmm.
But you're thinking how is this going to turn around? Like because this guy is, as you say, he's like kind of despicable. Like he's just got real issues with people.
Mm-hmm.
He's like a real like isolated person.
Yeah.
He just doesn't really care for much company, and we can talk more about his kind of routines and things as well. Because there's a lot going on with him, isn't there?
Yeah.
There's so many like
Okay then.
things.
Do you wanna switch to spoilers now then?
Yeah, come on.
What's going on with him then?
Well, the main thing is just OCD,
Yeah.
really, and that he's it's the cracks in the pavements and all those things, and the fact that he goes to that diner, and there's this scene, whenever he goes and he always wants to sit in the same spot and order the exact same thing every day.
Same waitress.
And the same waitress and everything, and if anything's different, like the time where he just stands there and he orders people to get up and move, like some people are in his seat.
And the thing is, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's just no, that's all right. Go on ahead.
I was just gonna say that people don't realize that he has OCDs. They just think he's a massive just a complete horrible person.
Yeah.
They think he's just come in there to ruin their meal.
Yeah.
But obviously you then sympathize with him, because then you're thinking he can't help it, but maybe he can.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like it does really well at making you're right, at making you sympathize with him, because we see what happens behind the closed door of his apartment and all.
Yeah.
And speaking of the door, that there's the whole thing about, is one of my favorite scenes, is when he talks about knocking on the door. He's like, I can't remember exactly what he says now, but he talks to Greg Kinnear's character, and he just goes through the whole process, like, never knock on this door. Like,
yeah. It's quite intense.
But yeah, it's quite intense. But you're right that he doesn't. People wouldn't always understand. I suppose that's a really important message even now, because if somebody is going through something and they present like behaviors, then we don't really know what's going on in their head, or what, you know what I mean? Like, we don't know what they've gone through, Obviously it doesn't excuse that kind of behavior, but it
helps you understand.
It helps you understand, because this guy is obviously he's going through a lot.
And I think we need to talk about the dog as well. And what he does is he ends up having to babysit the dog for his next door neighbor after he gets beaten up after a robbery. And the part that really got me was when the dog starts stepping over the cracks of the pavement like he does, and he just picks it up.
And he's like, is it Verdell as a dog?
Yeah. And he absolutely falls in love with this dog. And at the start of the film, he puts the dog down the bin chute because it was urinating in the hallway. Yeah. But anyway, getting back to how the other characters affect him and his OCD. So one day, the waitress Helen Hunt, she doesn't turn up to work. And his response to that is he goes to because he's an author, he goes to his publishers, who he knows that her husband is a doctor, and he says, can you do me a favor and go around and help Helen Hunt's kid, who's extremely allergic to everything. And it's obviously very hard to get good healthcare when you're living paycheck to paycheck. So he does that, but she's then worried about, because she finds him a bit weird and a bit creepy. She's worried that he's doing that so that he can then use it against her. But the way I took it is, he does fancy it, but he really just wants to have his meal at the same table with the same waitress. And that's the lengths that he would go to keep his routine in place.
Yeah.
I don't know, what did you think of that?
Yeah, I completely agree. Exactly the same. That's what I thought of it as well. And as I say, it's not I haven't watched it recently, so all of it isn't the freshest in my mind.
Yeah.
Like every scene. But
Mhm.
I no, I him and Helen Hunt's character, like the relationship between them two was just one of the
Mm.
highlights for me. And as I said, like where they were, like if you watch it again, like I've seen that some of those scenes before, but like Helen Hunt, the scene where he gets people to stand up in the restaurant, she shouts at him like, or she just says to him like, "Don't ever speak about." Didn't she did? "Don't ever speak about my son like that,"
Yeah,
something like that.
he mentions her son, but he doesn't know anything about her son. He
Yeah,
says something like, "Oh, we're all gonna die. You're gonna die, and your son's gonna die," or something like that. But he was saying it in a way that he just meant about life in general. But she was like, "No, no, no. My son is potentially could die.
yeah,
Just shut
yeah.
up, shut up,
That
shut up."
it triggered
Yeah,
her. It really just made her just like all of that
yeah,
fear and like anxiety she's feeling about her son.
yeah,
She's just like, I don't want this like ass like giving me about this about my son right now. Like, I'm just trying to work and live. But no,
yeah,
yeah, and the whole story is quite tragic and heartbreaking with the neighbor.
yeah,
He's the third piece in their kind of triangle.
yeah. Well,
He's so important.
he's gay, and
Yeah,
he's definitely getting a lot of hardship from
yeah,
that. A lot of dealing with sexist people, not sexist people, homophobic people,
yeah,
including Jack Nicholson. Um,
yeah.
uh, and then he gets robbed and beaten up nearly to death. So it's he's at the bottom, and
Oh yeah,
the only person he has to talk to is his next door neighbor, the OCD guy that hates him.
yeah, yeah.
he
He's at
doesn't
a
have his
real
he doesn't have his
yeah.
parents because his dad doesn't like the fact that he's gay. Um, so it explores some really deep
Oh
themes.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Each character of the three, like they all like are really really complex characters, and they
mm,
do all explore really unique different themes. Like the mum worried about her child's health, and like the obviously mental health, the OCD, and
yeah,
then there's the homophobia and like prejudice and
yeah, yeah,
just and how beautiful is it that the three people then as you said before, like they unite in their struggles and
yeah. They
kind
all
of come,
help each other.
they all
Yeah,
help each other. Yeah.
yeah. And I'll just say a shout out to James L. Brooks who wrote and directed it. So yeah, cool. All right, good film. Thanks for the recommendation. Um,
All good.
Now the Florida Project was one I saw a few years back, and I thought, oh, Dale didn't see that one. I think you'll like
Hmm.
it.
Yeah.
So, what did you think?
Yeah, I did really like it. I watched it last night, and I was like, it was one of the films that like as soon as it like kind of ended, like I kind of just my mind was racing, and like I just kept couldn't stop thinking about it for a while.
Mm.
Because there's just so much in it, and it's quite, and I found some of it quite difficult to watch, but like not in a way that I want to turn it off, but like in a way that was just kind of, some of it was just uncomfortable because it was really real.
Yeah,
All right, and
uh, it's realistic. Yeah,
it's so
it's
realistic.
truth.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
real truth, and I'm really glad I watched it because I love that. Like it kind of reminded me a little bit of Moonlight.
yeah.
Um,
So explain a
uh,
little bit about who's
oh,
the
okay.
main
What?
character. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Just give my initial reaction.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah.
the main character is a 6-year-old girl. So and she was phenomenal. That actress. Like I thought she was good, and then there was one scene at the end where I was just like, blown away. But yeah, she lives with her single mom in Florida in a motel called I've written it down, Magic Castle. Um, and it's just like this really big, bright, like pink motel, run by the manager is Willem Dafoe's character, Bobby. And yeah, it's also about their kind of living in kind of squalor and like like find it quite hard to get by. Like,
Hmm. Hmm.
they're really kind of struggling to make ends meet.
Hmm.
And this motel is probably like the last stage before homelessness for them, really. I
Yeah.
took it as anyway.
Hmm.
Um, and and one of the main points it's called the Florida Project because the Florida Project, correct me if I'm wrong, is the original name for Walt Disney World Resort in
Yeah.
Florida.
Hmm.
And that is like really, really heavy in the film.
Yeah, it's
Um,
like they live kind of a few miles away from it.
yeah,
Or
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And there's one shot where you can see it in the background.
yeah,
And it's always kind of looming over them. Like it kind of shows like a real polar opposite, like people who are just like struggling in the world here in this kind of situation, and then there's the people who and it does. I can't say this because it does happen. The people can just afford to just spend 3 days and
yeah,
live in a five-star hotel in the Walt
yeah,
Disney
yeah, yeah.
Resort. Um, and that is two completely different lives. And do you know what the other thing I want to say about the film is as well? It really, really captures like childhood, like and like not everybody's childhood, obviously, but like the interactions between different children because it kind of follows them for a long time. Like the children
Yeah,
playing and like like they just
yeah,
are so excited with things and like they're going to
yeah.
old houses and like they're playing tricks and stuff.
And they
Um,
sometimes like they go too far with certain
oh
things,
yeah,
and they're like what you see is they're always learning as well,
yeah,
like about
yeah.
what they're doing. Really cool.
Yeah, yeah, you really do see the growth of the children, and you see they're kind of like they know when they've gone a bit too far.
Mm.
Because there's the one scene with the old house that we can
Hmm.
talk about in a minute,
Yeah,
which kind of is a massive catalyst for change then for her life,
yeah,
and it just made me really like just ache and sorry for this
yeah.
family and like this
Because
situation.
there's people that live like that. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
and the circumstances that they're in, like that
Mm.
sometimes that they go down a path just to try and make ends meet, and it's not always like right for the child or right for the mom because, you know, and it's do you know what the other thing as well? Talking about the childhood, it's funny how you can kind of not funny, but like it's interesting how you can kind of see like how the parent is influencing the child because
Hmm.
the way that Monet, the 6-year-old girl, the main character, the way she talks, and then you hear her mum talking to other people, and she's like in the background or she's listening, like you can kind of see like how much like she is learning from her mum, like the way her mum just like confronts people or just like
Hmm.
sprouts like what she feels, like
Hmm.
the little girl like Monet is really like that. Um, and she is obviously like 6 years old. She just kind of isn't really thinking about like, is this normal? Is this, this is just her normal? Like this is her life
Hmm.
in this motel. Um, and then, yeah, no, it was another thing I noticed as well is there's no score really.
Yeah, very
So
minimal. Yeah,
it feels even more like a documentary. And then
yeah,
there is one piece at the end, and we'll talk about that in spoilers because I've got my own thoughts on that. I'm interested to hear what you say.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, there's no music really, and it's kind of filmed in a way that feels kind of like you're just watching their life, and it's like a documentary. It's like a real motel in Florida. Um, Um, no, yeah, if I had to give it a score, I would probably give it like maybe an 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a good like a good healthy score because I think it's the kind of film that like I really enjoyed it and it was really important, but like I don't know whether like it would be like rewatchable for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
it's not like a go-to, like.
Hmm.
But I think it's important for a lot of people to see it, and I'm really glad that you recommended it to me because,
Hmm.
you know, um, being
Um,
being a teacher myself,
yeah, yeah,
it really kind of struck with me in that way as well because you know that there's so much goes on with children, so
yeah. I thought it was. I agree with everything you're saying. Quickly, what were your thoughts on Willem Dafoe's character and his acting?
Brilliant, yeah.
Yeah.
And the way he cared about the children, you know.
Yeah.
He was his performance was really genuine. Like, it was really just like he really did like want to just be a decent manager, and he actually cared for people. He's always looking out for them, and you could see just the kind of like the frustration, the pain on his face when he sees like them making these choices. Because he's just like, oh, this is not what I want for you. Like,
but yeah,
really, he was
great performance,
and he was widely recognized for that too, wasn't he? He got nominated for Oscars.
He was Oscar nominated.
Yeah, deservedly so.
Is there any spoilers you'd like to mention?
Just the ending, right? So the way I interpreted the ending is, I haven't even read anything about any interpretations. This is just what I thought from last night. So I think it as, whenever the scene where and it was incredible, where she just starts crying. She runs to her friend's house. Okay, I'll go back a wee bit. So at the end, she is going to be taken away because her mum has spiraled and the only way she feels like she can get money is to be a sex worker. So she is then the police, and the social services get wind of this, and then they come around and they're obviously going to remove Monet from her mum's care, take her to foster care. And she runs away. And she runs straight to her friend's house. And she just breaks down, and you can just see all of this, everything that has been building in her, and it's the first time you ever see that reaction in her. Just the whole time, she's kind of cocky child, she's confident, she's laughing, she's just getting into mischief, and then she just breaks at the door, and then her friend just sort of really doesn't really say anything and just grabs her hand, and the score just comes in, and it just is kind of they run and run and run, and just kind of just follows them running, and then eventually it just ends with them running under the Disney castle, they're in Disneyland. And my interpretation was that it wasn't real.
Right. Okay.
That, because and the score comes in, and that kind of shows you that this is different. From that was, I don't know, that was just my thoughts on it. I thought this isn't actually what happened. There's no way they could just run and run and run straight into Disneyland.
No, it makes sense. That's kind of a fantasy.
It's a fantasy, and in
it's a sad
in an ideal world, that would be the dream, but unfortunately it's probably not the case. But you can really I can empathize with her mum as well. What did you think about all the ends and everything?
It's just the sad reality of how life can be, and it just shows you what it's like for some people that you might not be able to relate to, because we're obviously living in England, and you're a teacher, I'm an engineer, and then to kind of see that kind of lifestyle just played out in front of you so well in such a great film. It just helps broaden your perspective. A film like that
completely does. It's important viewing, and there's another scene just want to quickly mention that really stood out for me, is that where they go down to a lake and they're sitting on the grass, and then it's one of the children's birthdays, and there's one line that stuck out because they're watching these amazing fireworks, and you can kind of think to your head oh, it must be Disneyland, it must be their amazing firework display. And they're just sitting down watching it, and struggle. They've just been struggling to eat, and then she the mom just says, "Oh, their fireworks are for you, honey," or something So heartbreaking.
I know. Yeah.
But,
good film though.
And I'm really happy with the recommendation. And
2 for 2. We're both 2 for 2.
Wait till the week where we're oh, what was that?
Right, before we pick our recommendations, I just want to quickly do something. I'll be right back in 30 seconds. Yep. Sorry about that. Okay.
All good.
So, all right, who wants to go first? So, we're going to pick a recommendation for next week. Do you have one in mind?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll go first because
Yep.
I'm sorted.
Mm-hmm.
So mine for you this week is a film from 2011. And
Yep.
I know you haven't seen it. At least I'm 95% sure that you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
And it is The Help.
Ah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the reason I picked The Help is because I have to say like it's probably in like my top 20, not top 20, maybe top 50 like films. Like I really like this film. I watched it a few times, and every time like I love it just as much as I did before. Because the first time I watched it, I didn't really know anything much about it. I had heard that it was to do with it was to do with like the civil rights movement, and it was like it was like an African American woman that was the main character.
Yeah.
So it's set in the 1960s.
Yeah.
In Mississippi in North America, and it's about like the differences between the African American people, the workers, and then the white families that they kind of care for. So it's like there's a lot in it that's really hard to.
I've heard. I've only heard really good things from it, like really great things. It was an Oscar film, wasn't it? There was a lot of recognition there, and is Emma Stone in it? If I
that's the other thing as well. It's Jessica Chastain. You know how much I like Jessica Chastain.
Oh, she's in it as well.
Yeah, Jessica Chastain, Emma Stone, Viola Davis, who is so good. Like she's incredible.
Yeah.
And Octavia Spencer.
Yeah. Oh, nice. I'm definitely very happy with that recommendation because I just keep forgetting to watch it and never get around to it. So it's good that you've said that because I want to watch it. So
yeah,
looking forward to getting that reviewed next week. Cool. Now I've got two choices for you, and I'm going to quickly decide in my head right now which one it is. Okay, decided. I'm 99.9% sure you've not seen this, and it's a film that you can definitely tell that it's made back in the 80s, but the special effects and things like that could only have been done then, and that, in my opinion, it's one of the greatest special effects movies of all time, and in some ways it's better than anything that CGI could do.
I know what this is.
The only thing I could be talking about is The Thing.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it, no, but okay. I could kind of guess just by your expression there. I was like, he's going to say it.
Yeah, it's not my favorite film, but it's awesome. It's so good. Like everyone needs to see it. It's just. Do you know anything about it?
Other than really the poster, with and there's like I'm gonna try and reenact it. It's like kind of a guy going like this, like with like a kind of helmety Mysterio kind of like thing.
Yeah.
Okay. And I feel really ignorant that I don't really know anything about it. Like
that's good. That's good. You don't want to know anything about it.
Yeah.
That's
okay. Because I only got the image in my head and it seems like to me that there's some kind of like monstery kind of supernatural like thing, and it's just going like
So it's directed by John Carpenter, and he does the score as well. And I think Ennio Morricone did some of the score as well, if I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong there. I can't quite remember. That's off the top of my head. But I won't give anything away. It's just great special effects, really tense, good acting by Kurt Russell and the rest of the supporting cast. Sort of like a sci-fi horror film. So yeah.
Cool.
Hopefully you'll like it. Maybe you'll hate it. Who knows?
We'll see.
We'll see. All right. So now that we've done the reviews and the recommendations, we've got some news from the past week, which I thought was worth talking about. And just quickly off the top, there's a couple of things that I saw this morning that are worth mentioning. And that is one of our favourite games, Uncharted 4, is 4 years old today, which is, I mean, where's that time gone?
Happy birthday, Uncharted 4.
Yeah, I mean, that's gone quickly, hasn't it?
It's gone really quickly. That experience of playing the game, like I was literally just thinking about it there, like, oh, it was so good. Like it really, really sticks out for me as like an experience.
Yeah.
And I remember the build up too. Like I think we were at uni, and we were watching like gameplay trailers and all. And in terms of like gameplay trailers, one that really sticks out for me is like the whole section where he's like with his brother, I think. And he's like trailing on and like going through like bridges and like down the river, and like he's like hanging on and like
is he hanging on to a rope attached to a truck, and then he goes through the mud? I thought
he goes through the mud and like
that's so cool. And then
that's such a standout.
When you actually played that, it was like exactly what it was advertised as. It was like
exactly. There was no disappointment at all in this game. Absolutely love Uncharted 4. Just want to ask you, are you like excited for the Tom Holland Uncharted movie, or? Yeah,
of course. Like I'm always excited for a movie because it's got unlimited potential to be great. So yeah, like if they can pull it off, it could be great. If they come into some problems and it's just not that. I mean, there's a running joke, or kind of a reality with video game adaptations, that they're just never that good. So, but there's definitely potential there for it to be good. Yeah. What about you?
I'm excited for it. Yeah, because I just anything with kind of Uncharted, and I'm just like, okay, I'm interested. Like I'll give it a watch. Yeah, and I've heard Tom Holland's come out recently and said he's really, really impressed with the script.
Oh, cool.
So yeah,
it's one that's been in development hell for 5 or 6 years, hasn't it? Maybe longer, maybe 10 years.
I mean, it's actually a bit shocking that they were about to go and film it. It was like, surely this film's never going to come out, never going to be made. And then now that it was about to go, and then just COVID-19, just it had to. So it'll all get back up and running when it's safe. But all good.
Cool. Secondly, the New Zealand, obviously they've recovered, or they're recovering quite quickly from the virus at the minute, and there's plans now for Lord of the Rings, the Amazon TV show, and the Avatar films to go back into production. So that's good news. That's really good news. And then they were also reporting, according to Deadline, that the Avatar films in production, so I think that's 2 and 3, are costing $1 billion to produce and make, which is outrageous. But
that is outrageous. That's just mind-boggling, and that's it's just so James Cameron, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just and it sounds like, you know, the amount of effort and hours that he's already put into these films for like he's basically been thinking about it now for like over a decade. Like,
well, he started off. He started off
since
writing.
Avatar.
He started off by writing all the books. Like he wrote 5 books or something, and
Did he?
Yeah, and he just didn't release them. And he's adapting his own books, unreleased books, into movies. Like...
So I just had a thought there, right? So Avatar came out in 2009, the first one.
Yeah.
So he must have been working on that for like years, obviously years before that, years.
Yeah.
So by the time all of them come out, he'll have been working like around Avatar for like 2 decades, like 20 years at least.
Well, if it's like, the best part of the 2010s and the 2000s already, that's already almost 2 decades.
Yeah.
And then by the time it's all finished, it'll be 2027. So that'll be like 25 years or something that he's been working on.
It's like the time. It's like you think about like the whole time that nearly the whole time we've been alive. Like it's the time that James Cameron has been thinking about Avatar. I mean, that's incredible. Like he puts everything into his projects, doesn't he? Including his money.
And one thing I just want to say is that, in my opinion, there's a lot of people saying, you know, who's even excited for Avatar 2? It's been so long. Yeah, it's been so long since the last one. But the thing is, by the time it comes out, what he's doing and what is revealed and the trailers and the, you know, everything and the film innovation that he'll be showing off, like this will all bring back the hype, and you shouldn't ever like bet against it, because people always do it and they're always wrong.
I know, and I just want to say, like, you think about it, like James Cameron's one of the only people that actually went down to the wreckage of the Titanic. You know, he went. That's the kind of lengths that he went to for his films. You know. That's amazing.
It is amazing.
That a director would like go on like a kind of risky trip down to the wreckage of the Titanic, just for a bit of.
To make
research.
A movie about it.
To make an incredible movie about it.
That's funny.
So the other thing, sorry, what was it you just mentioned there? That's something I wanted to mention briefly.
Lord of the Rings, was it?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. I have to admit, I don't really know that much about the production of Lord of the Rings, the TV series. Like, I've kind of stayed away from it, not purposely. Yeah. But like, I don't know. Like, is it? Has there been anything? Is it going to feel like the films? Like, is it going to be the same kind of sets and like?
So what I've heard about it is that it's going to be a lot of the same crew who were on The Hobbit are going to be hired or have been hired. I know that J.A. Bayona is directing the first 2 episodes at least, and that they've all already shot them. What else? I know that it was reported that it was going for a similar feel to what Peter Jackson had established. And that it was going to be set in the Second Age. So, you know, at the start of Fellowship of the Ring, where it shows you Isildur and Sauron and the battle with the elves.
Isildur!
Yeah. It shows you like the shards of Narsil cutting off the Ring of Power. Like,
I'm just thinking in my head, we need to have a massive topic about Lord of the Rings in the future. Like,
so that's the ending of the Second Age, that battle where they defeat Sauron. So it's going to be set before that.
Nice.
And that's all I really know about it. Also, that Amazon have got a $500 million budget for season 1.
Is that all?
Was that right? And that they maybe it was a bit less, and the rights. I can't remember. I know they spent a really large amount of money on the rights to Lord of the Rings, and then they have a huge budget as well. And I think altogether it was $1 billion as well. Yeah, so I think rights and budget plus the marketing budget, it's going to be $1 billion for season 1 of Lord of the Rings, which is crazy as well.
Absolutely, but it just shows you the scope and the magnitude of this. Because Lord of the Rings obviously is really beloved as well now. Books are probably better.
And I'll tell you who's been cast as a lead. Do you know in Game of Thrones the Ned Stark flashbacks?
Yes.
So,
you mean the actor who played Ned?
Yeah, the Tower of Joy flashback
Tower of
scenes.
Joy.
So the actor that played Ned is the lead in the new Lord of the Rings show.
Oh yeah, I can see that. Like he looks straight out of a battle. You just see him in the armor.
That's funny. Okay, cool. So that's with those two mentioned there. What have we got for our main news topics? We've got Taika Waititi. Well, Disney and Taika both tweeted out that he'll be writing and directing a new Star Wars movie, and he is co-writing it with the woman who, what's her name, Krysty Wilson Cairns, who wrote. She's an Academy Award nominee for the script of 1917. So they're teaming up together to write the new. Sorry, I was going to say Lord of the Rings there, but the new Star Wars film. What do you think about this?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
yes, please.
It's like the only thing that they could have announced that would have got me hyped about Star Wars again.
No, I know. And on that day as well,
May the 4th. Yeah.
It was sort of like, I kind of thought it was like, it's okay. We've learned and we're moving forward now, and we've got some real treats ahead. We've got Taika, he's such an in-demand director now, isn't he?
Yeah.
Like he's really proved his the breadth of his talents as well. Like what he did with Jojo Rabbit and what he did with like Thor Ragnarok and Hunt for the Wilder People and that Taika humor and and also the emotion and the drama that he can put in, when we see in Jojo Rabbit. I'm really excited.
Yeah, me too. He's definitely one of my favourite filmmakers working now, just because of the projects he's on, and then his own original screenplays are just hilarious and amazing films. Like Jojo Rabbit was like on another level to his previous films, like how well he pulled it off. Because I don't think many people could pull off the subject matter with that kind of sense of humor.
and not many people could pull off that kind of like satirical Hitler that he, like that, like the imaginary friend Hitler.
Yeah.
That like is slightly comedic. But it never feels wrong. Like it understands that he was an atrocious person, but
it's also really clever that it's Hitler from a child's perspective.
Yeah,
which is really cool.
Yeah. That kind of makes it different.
So he's probably, besides him or like Steven Spielberg or Christopher Nolan being announced to direct a Star Wars movie, then they're the only people that would get me super excited.
Yeah.
And
1917 as well. I mean, what more can you say about that?
And it's great because the screenplay of 1917 was written in a way that's just, it's so like grounded and realistic, and it's like in your face the whole time, and to have that kind of style mixed with Taika's, it seems perfect.
It does. Like it kind of makes you excited just to even
Yeah.
To think about them sitting together in a room, writing together and bouncing their ideas around.
Yeah, and it's smart of Taika to think, oh, I need someone else who is better at the other things that I'm not so good at. You know.
Yeah, and he really seems like someone who really wants to learn as well and really hone his craft. Like, he is outstanding.
And he's hilarious, just on everything. He's just...
He is, and I really like his like relationship with Chris Hemsworth as well. Like, he really brings out the funniest parts of Chris Hemsworth.
And he's doing Thor: Love and Thunder before that.
I know.
Oh man.
And I think we mentioned it briefly before, but he's taken this extra time now to like really, really go at the script for Thor: Love and Thunder, which is just brilliant. Yeah. So. Yeah.
Cool. All right. I think we'll stay on the topic of Star Wars and Temuera Morrison, who is the actor who played Jango Fett in 2002's Star Wars Attack of the Clones. He has now been cast as Boba Fett in season 2 of The Mandalorian. Now,
we haven't discussed this.
I've got mixed feelings.
Oh.
I mean, I will say that one thing I really liked about The Mandalorian, I was hoping that it would just be disconnected from anything that's come before. Like, there's this tendency that they have to tie everything in.
Yeah.
And to me, that makes no sense because the galaxy is huge. It's absolutely humongous. So the chances of all these characters, you know, it makes it, in my head, it's more exciting and cooler for the story when there's things going on in the galaxy that don't necessarily connect, because it shows, it brings like a size to the galaxy. It shows you that there's stories going on over here, stories going on over here. But I guess now that it is happening, I mean, he was good as Jango Fett, and it's quite cool that he's playing Boba Fett. So, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
This is just one of my thoughts there now. I haven't really thought too much about it. I think like I trust in the creators as well.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
But I also feel that, and then this is just my interpretation, is for like the next year or two, what they've announced now and going forward with the Mandalorian, like the Mandalorian and the Obi-Wan series, are going to be sort of like some of the last links for a while to the kind of Skywalker saga. And I feel like then it might be that they will make that conscious effort to move away and start to go towards unconnected, like.
Yeah, I mean,
parts.
they have announced that new era set 400 years before the High Republic, set 400 years before the prequel era. So that could be where Taika's film set. We don't know.
Yeah, you know, we don't know, but and there's also there's the Cassian Andor series. It's in hasn't started filming yet, has it? But it's in pre-production.
Yeah, they've just got a new showrunner for that. I think they're readjusting what their plans were, I think, for that show.
Yeah. That show sounds really cool, actually. And I think they've announced, didn't they, that Alan Tudyk is coming back as a.
That's cool.
What's K2? Is it K2SO?
Yeah. Nice one. All right, just cautious of time, I think we'll skip those two last news stories and go on to our first topic of the day, which is The Last of Us. Now, The Last of Us has been through, a hard time. Naughty Dog have been through a bit of a hard time recently. I haven't been spoiled from the leaks yet.
Neither have I.
Yeah. And I know that talking about it is like inviting people to comment and spoil it, but I doubt that'll happen. Seeing as we don't get that many viewers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think the risk is that high talking about it. But the latest story trailer came out. And I thought it was pretty awesome. What did you think?
Yeah, really, really, really liked it. Got me really excited because it's like it kind of showed a more mature Ellie, like that has just everything that she's gone through in The Last of Us. She's like hardened, and she's
a full-on murderer now.
Oh, do you know what really stood out for me? And I just kind of went like this, like, like, you know that scene where like it's like she's in the rain and she's got like blood all down her face and she's like screaming, like it looks like she's just killed someone. I was just like, oh my goodness, like she is just going through it, like she is, and I don't know about you, and I obviously, like, I haven't stayed anywhere near spoilers, and I get that it's a gameplay trailer and it's probably trying to throw us off the scent and things, but the lack of I noticed there was a lack of Joel in that trailer, like he was in it like 3-4 shots, like.
Well, that's something that I think is going to be the case. Not that I know this is just speculation, but I think Joel will be taking a back seat in this game, and it will be more Ellie's story. And I think, I'm just guessing, but that could be a reason why people aren't happy, because everybody really loved Joel. But I don't really care about
my
that.
guess as well.
It's like, we've got The Last of Us 1, which was an awesome game with Joel already. And this is it. You know, to me, it makes sense that you'd be playing as Ellie in the second one.
Yeah.
Hopefully, he's like he's in it a lot. I hope he is.
I know. I'm slightly worried about him. You know.
Yeah.
That like that's what I can say. Like I don't know anything about the game. Like no sport. Like I don't know anything.
Yeah.
So, but I like from just where I think it could go. Like I feel like I'm worried about what's going to happen with this character. Because to me, like that would be one. Like that would just really just be one of the worst experiences for Ellie. Like.
Yeah, anything could happen.
Anything could happen. Yeah. I mean, we'll know for sure it's out next month. So.
Yeah, hopefully get it for my birthday, July.
Yeah, I have it pre-ordered. So.
Nice one. Yeah, so I don't know. To me, it's like even if I got spoiled, I'd take it with a grain of salt because it's about the gameplay. It's about how incredible the graphics are and the gameplay that Naughty Dog do. I mean, you can take a pretty simple story in a Naughty Dog game and turn it into this epic adventure.
Yeah,
it's quite often it's less about where you end up and how you get there. The context of it, the tone, the encounters, how intense they can be that you wouldn't necessarily know unless you played it. So, people love to jump on a hate bandwagon, whether it's agendas or just because you hate the story, whatever, doesn't matter. It's like, I don't think it would upset me too much if I did get spoiled.
No, it would. I feel like it would upset me a bit, but it wouldn't make me. It wouldn't. I don't think it would ruin the experience for me. Like I think,
yeah, just because there's so much going on with the game other than the story. Yeah,
and if you think about The Last of Us, like the story of it and the experience of part one, like the first one. I don't know if we can. Should we go into maybe just a bit of spoilers with the first one?
Spoiler
briefly.
Warning for The Last of Us Part 1. Yep, go for it.
So, you were talking about the experiences and like what they go through. Like, what really sticks out? And I think I remember talking to you about it at the time. I can't remember for sure, but do you know the scene where there's the guy? I can't remember his name, but he basically like we found out that he isn't like on their side, and he's been they're cannibals. Mm-hmm. He is in the like kind of saloon like place, like the restaurant.
Yeah.
And it's like sort of on fire, and he's trying to kill Ellie. Like, and he's trying to like hunt her in it, and you're trying to like avoid him.
Mhm.
Well, all like the gameplay of that, and like the emotional weight and the stakes, and like how much you've already gone through with Ellie and Joel so far. Like it's been
Yeah.
just like the most harrowing, like grueling
Yeah.
journey for them. And you're just kind of like, and then Joel kind of turns up, and you're just like, oh, and it's like
Yeah,
such a
yeah.
emotional moment where it's so like,
So if you
I think
put
I
that
remember
on
nearly
paper,
crying,
right?
like,
Yeah, if you put that on paper, gets captured by cannibals, escapes cannibals, cannibal man comes to kill her, Joel comes to save the day, right? That sounds pretty basic,
basic.
doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, you're like,
But
oh well, Joel came and saved the day. Yeah, like
yeah, in the context of the game, it's so intense. Yeah.
and it's because like Ellie had really gone out of her way to save Joel before that, and like she had administered him with antibiotics, and then
Yeah.
he kind of wakes up and finds her, and it's just that like most charged like moment where they're just like, it just sort of just all comes in, and you just realize how much they actually mean to each other now.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite parts of the game, definitely.
Oh, yeah. And then there's the ending as well.
Yeah, again, on paper, the ending sounds pretty naff.
Yeah.
So-
It's a bit like, oh, cliche, like
Yeah, but then when you see it play out, and you're living it through these characters, because it's one thing that only a game can do, is you're in that journey with them.
Oh yeah.
So it's, I think people just need to chill out a bit.
that could apply to so many different yeah. But yeah, there's that. I can't wait to see the next stage from that though. Like obviously Joel told Ellie a lie.
Yeah.
Like he lied to her and said that
Yeah. How's that all gonna come to a head in the second
game? Yeah. Like she's all like to me she has to find out that it's not like,
yeah, and how's she gonna react to that?
Yeah.
Now with the Naughty Dog, they did kind of, and Sony, they have done something that is worthy of criticism. Well, as well as if you just genuinely don't like the story, that's worthy of criticism. But they have been abusing copyright and issuing copyright strikes to people, YouTubers, even tweets just on Twitter. Even if you just mention the game, spoilers or not, they were kind of pulling these comments down, issuing these copyright strikes. And it seems a bit like ignorant and a bit reactionary. And I think they've stopped. I think they've stopped now. I think it's stopped, and there are a few kind of people that still have videos up, and you just worry about like people whose livelihoods are on the line, because the copyright strike on YouTube means, 3 of them. If you get 3 copyright strikes, you lose your channel. And a strike does not look good. It can really, mess up your channel. Like if you uploaded, say, a song that was copyright, you wouldn't get a strike. You would just get the video blocked, or all the proceeds from the video would go to the owner of the song. Yeah. It would just happen that way. That a copyright strike is like an act against you, to bring you down because of it.
Okay. So
it's a lot more seriousness, and it can basically mess up people's jobs. when it's now it's been leaked and it's public information. You're legally allowed to talk about it. So hopefully they've stopped doing it.
And in the long run, like, is that really going to help them? Like,
absolutely not.
It's kind of digging even more of a hole, and to use that metaphor, like
it's the Streisand effect. It brings more attention to it. It makes it worse for them. Yeah,
and it puts even more of a bad taste in people's mouth when they think about Sony. Like, not that they all had a bad taste with Sony, but like, you know what I mean. Like it's when you think about, like, if you're, especially if you're one of the people you're saying are getting really affected by that.
Yeah.
you're just gonna be like, well, you know, the leaks are out there. Like it's my, as you say, it's my right to talk about it. But why?
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I get too that they probably just feel a bit frustrated that, you know, the higher ups that like they've just spent so long working on this game.
Yeah.
And like it was so close now. It would have been released anyway, like hadn't it been for COVID, is that right? When was
Yeah.
the release?
Yeah.
Was
I
it
can't
April? No.
remember. I can't remember. Yeah, at some point in
Yeah, it was
last
delayed
month or
anyway.
this month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there probably are a little bit just kind of like, oh, why has this had to happen? But it's next month, you know. It's
I don't
I
know
don't.
for sure, but I hope that they've relaxed their efforts to do all that
Yeah.
to with the copyright strikes. Yeah.
And regardless, I think they're going. The release is going to be a huge success. That's my
Yeah,
personal
yeah,
opinion.
that's the other thing. Like, it's obviously going to be a huge success anyway. I mean, it'll probably get review bombed and things like that, but
Oh yeah. But it's
yeah.
it's an essential gaming experience. I feel like for people, you know, like
Mm.
it's
Yeah,
um yeah.
yeah. But anyway, we'll have to wait and see. The game still could be bad. Like, there's a chance it could genuinely be bad.
Well,
I highly
that's the thing.
doubt it. I highly doubt it, but it could be.
I really hope it's not.
Okay, cool. I know. Still, if you got enough time, you got a bit more time, maybe
Yeah.
15, 20 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Okay, so there was an Xbox Series X, which is the next generation of Xbox, the new console coming out this year in November. They had their first ever gameplay reveal for third-party studios, which means like it's not going to be the Halos or anything that Microsoft make in-house. It's games like Assassin's Creed, which will come out on both consoles. It's the first gameplay reveal for that. And Assassin's Creed had billed this as the first gameplay reveal. And when you think of that, that means, you know, you're going to see what it's actually like to play the game. Yeah.
Yeah.
But instead, they revealed like a heavily edited in-engine cutscene type trailer, which, I mean, if you're going to market it as a teaser, everyone would be like, cool. But don't say it's the newest gameplay reveal, first time ever for the next generation. And it's just, I mean, one of the only things we actually got was Bright Memory Infinite, which was another game that we discussed before the podcast started. But it's a lower budget game made by one person. But that looked fantastic. That's definitely gameplay, and it just looked how one person made that. It looks better than anything on consoles at the minute.
Yeah, it's highly impressive, isn't it?
Yeah. What did you think of that? Those two trailers?
Yeah. So I'll talk about the Assassin's Creed one first. You know, it didn't really do much for me. Like, and part of that I think is down to the fact that like I'm not really a big Assassin's Creed fan anyway. Like I have never owned a game of Assassin's Creed.
Yeah. What did you think of the setting, that it's Vikings?
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Nordic.
Yeah. That all looked pretty cool. That's probably the most interesting thing about it. But like, you know, I thought, oh, nice trailer, yeah, cool. But like, I didn't think like this. I have to like, I cannot wait. I'm gonna like set. You know, I have to get this as soon as it comes out.
Yeah,
like,
because the only thing that's going to make you specifically, or people that are kind of, they've not really played much, but what's going to get you interested is what it actually looks like, isn't it? You need to see what it's going to be like to actually play it. Otherwise, what's the point? Yeah,
and that's completely key. That's like a fundamental thing, I feel. As you say, the people like me, like I'm not like a big gamer. Like I mean, I was like years ago, like when I was kind of growing up, I was a lot more into it than I am now. But like every now and again, like I kind of dip my toe in now, like when there's like a big kind of release I'm interested in, like kind of mainly story based, like
Spider-Man and
Spider-Man, like The Last of Us, really strong like stories and like things that like kind of I'm already interested in.
And we spoke about me lending you God of War because that is exactly what you're describing.
Yeah,
it's exactly what you're describing, and I know that it takes up a lot of time. It's like 25 hours, but it's something that's worth doing because it's right up your street, and it's so like you said, it's a one-off as well. So
yeah. That's it. Okay, I think that will probably be my next. Well, probably play The Last of Us Part 2 first, and then
there's no rush. Like they're gonna be around forever. So
they're not gonna disappear before the year is finished. You've got one chance. Yeah. So the other one I know that you'd mentioned to me like before you sent me the link to the second video of the Bright Memory Infinite that you had mentioned about the weather system.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like that was the kind of trailer where it was just like straight in, like you're in the action. You know, it's chaotic, like the tension is building. I'm just like I just really wanted to like grab a controller and like go like you know.
That's something that's going to be in the next generation. What they're going to be able to do is have like realistic dynamic weather. Like, I mean, they already have that in this generation, but they're going to have each particle of light, each particle of wind. They can program and they can be dynamic so that they'll run in the engine and they can affect each other dynamically, like without having to have been programmed either way. So it's just going to feel quite realistic if you're walking through a game, if you're controlling someone and the wind's blowing against you, and I don't know, maybe like a table blows over and flies away or something. It's like it's just going to feel quite cool, I think.
No, I completely agree.
And the rest of the gameplay that was shown was like teasers or nothing really that interesting until we see more. But there's going to be more gameplay coming from the PS5 and the Xbox in June. Maybe there may be some coming in May, but definitely June, and then more in July and August. Like all through summer, they're going to be releasing. Lots and lots of things coming.
So a gradual release of more information and videos in the build up to the end of the year.
Yeah, exactly. And then obviously we've got, this isn't next gen, but we've got Cyberpunk coming out in September. And I'll quickly mention this and see what you think about this, because I don't know if you know, but Cyberpunk it's like, imagine you've not played The Witcher, but I've told you a lot about it and how it's like a big story-based RPG. Now imagine that kind of system and gameplay, but set in a GTA type map. So it's a city-based game with that RPG style, but it's also heavily influenced, like with Blade Runner type of futuristic setting. And you're going to be able to, it's like to the point where everybody in the game, all the characters in the game have body modifications to improve themselves. So you could get your eye replaced with something that can zoom in or identify what things are, and with that kind of theme in place, when you create your character at the start of the game, you can customize your genitals in this game. So you can choose anything, like a mixture of genitals. You can have a giant dong if you wanted. Like, there's going to be first-person sex scenes. It's going to be explicit. It's going to have torture scenes. It sounds outrageously violent and adult-themed. Okay.
And it's got Keanu Reeves.
Yeah. and he's playing a character that's in a chip in your head, like with the body modification things. You have your character has a chip installed in their mind, and he is he's like a consciousness within the chip, like an actual person whose entire being is within this chip, and he can just talk to you and walk around, and you can see him. And sounds
what for to pick somebody to have like a voice in your head, like Keanu Reeves. Yeah.
I don't know if you'd be interested. What do you think about Cyberpunk?
Oh yeah, I'm really interested. Yeah, and I feel like that is also up there on the radar. Like that will make me dip my foot in, like the gaming. Like,
I guarantee you, it'll be one of the biggest games in years.
Yeah,
it's already, the marketing has been going on for over a year now. Like there's been trailers on TV and YouTube for ages. Like they must have millions and millions spent on the marketing. It's ridiculous. And yeah, just the fact that like every single encounter you have in the game, you have a choice, like whether you want to do something peacefully or whether you want to do, if you kill somebody or you like set them free, in like 10 hours later in the game, they can come back and help you because you like set them free or something, or like no matter what you do, it will all affect and come back. So it just sounds like nothing we've seen before. But yeah, with that out of the way, then our final section of the podcast will be to talk about anything we've been watching, listening to, or playing recently, or anything else you'd like to talk about.
Yeah.
If you'd like to go first.
Yeah, so I know we talked about this in the episode 1 of the podcast. I have got around to watching Afterlife season 2.
Ah, nice one.
I've finished it, yeah. And I've also watched on Netflix as well. I've watched Extraction, the Chris Hemsworth,
cool.
Russo's action film.
Yep.
I'll talk about Afterlife first, and I feel like we should just wait and talk about Extraction whenever you've seen it as well. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't seen it.
Okay, yeah. I'll not really talk much about it then, because I would really like to talk to you about it, because there's things that happen in it.
We'll do that next week. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Afterlife season 2 though, absolutely loved it. Like I know you told me that it was like a masterpiece, and I have to agree. Like it was so beautiful, like so poignant, like just really, really hones in on those like human interactions and like grief and just like kindness and like the connection between human beings and the fact that like it was perfect timing for Netflix to release it now, because I feel like there'll be a lot of people, it's like popular now and it's on Netflix, but there'll be a lot of people watching it that it'll really resonate with them. Do you know what I mean? Like, and Ricky Gervais, like I've even heard an interview with him recently. Like he said that one of the most amazing things that he'll be able to hear is like when people email him or message him and say that like this was like like watching this show like really, really helped me and like helped me to cope with things. Yeah. And he said that's just like the most wonderful thing like anyone can hear, that like something that you've like written or like, created has had that impression on people.
Absolutely, yeah. And also on top of that, it's hilarious.
Oh yeah, it's so funny. It's so funny. There is some. I think it was even funnier than season 1 this season.
Yeah.
Like, because they've gotten their stride. And the scene, like I'll not go into it, but like the 8-year-old girl in the last episode.
Yeah.
Whole.
Is that with her dad? Without giving away that many spoilers or anything, but it's just about how he identifies as a certain person. Yeah. That's hilarious.
Yeah. And it's never really like disrespectful or anything either.
No,
it's like
that's the thing. It's a joke about. There's a lot going on with trans people and the trans men, and you know, being who you want to be, and Ricky Gervais has always been an advocate for joking about anything. You should be able to joke about anything as long as you're not directly trying to offend or upset, or you know, you gotta watch what you say, but you should be able to joke about anything. And the way he pulls off the joke about, you know, the trans theme there it is genius.
It is so clever. Yeah.
It's so funny.
It's tastefully done, isn't it? Like
it's not like, offensive. It's not. I mean, clearly anyone has the right to be offended by it. Sure.
Oh, yeah. Well, but, you know, they could be offended by anything in the show, you know. But it's not out there to cause anyone harm. And it's like poking fun at yourself. You can poke fun at anything, really. Like, well, that's what Ricky Gervais says as well. Like, he's always like, and I do the same too. Like, I welcome it. He's like, I always joke about the fact that I'm old and like I'm balding and, you know, I'm a bit overweight. Like he says that. He's like, I joke about those things, you know, like
He's like, kind of created this humor armor around him now, because he's made a show about one of the hardest things people have to go through, and he can joke about it at the same time and pull it off emotionally and, you know, respectfully. So it's very clever. It never feels distasteful.
Yeah, and his like, what, do you know what? And it really struck me in that last episode. I kind of thought, whoa, like, he is a really good actor. Like, like he's a stand-up comedian, and he's you know, he is so talented, and it just comes like that. One of those scenes, you know, when he's on the sofa towards the end. I won't go into it, but like that, you know, when he's watching his laptop, and he's like, it's like just before the ending, and I was just like, it just really, really hit me like that. That was so emotional. And then it just comes up at the end, like written and directed by Ricky Gervais. I'm just like, what? You're so like,
there's as the theme of the podcast is recommendations. I have one last little recommendation for you, and if you go onto YouTube and search Ricky Gervais Afterlife Season 2 bloopers.
Oh yeah, I'd heard about this. Yeah,
mate, that I was crying. You know, Ratty and the Nonce.
Yeah.
Just the scene in the pub with Ratty and the Nonce, like they could. They're just going through all his nicknames. You know, the Nonce has all these nicknames. They're trying to get through this scene, and Ricky Gervais is just bursting out laughing every time. I won't say what he calls him because it's not appropriate. But
I can't.
Oh my god!
I can't remember the actor's name, but it's Thoris of Mere, isn't it? Who plays him? Like,
oh mate, it's so funny.
And he's just like the most like inappropriate like therapist you have ever met, like, or seen. Like, he's just
he says some messed up
awful
stuff.
Like, he's just a terrible person.
Yeah, terrible person. But that's the point. He is meant to be a terrible person. Yeah. He's not a good person getting away with saying terrible things. He just is a bad person. Yeah.
Oh.
But even then, some of the stuff he says is hilarious.
And it's like another thing that he said as well. He's like, loads of what happens in Afterlife is that, like, you know, people can have a laugh at it and they can kind of think, well, like, they can kind of go, oh, like, I could never say those things. Like, some of the things that Tony says, like, he just comes out with things. And it's kind of like the thing where, like, you're like, as a decent person, like, you wouldn't say those things. Like, you just, you know, but that's part of it as well.
Yeah, and I think Ricky Gervais also, he said in an interview, or I think it was the One Show, or not the One Show, Graham Norton show. He said it during Graham Norton's been doing the show via Zoom or whatever.
Yeah.
He said that he realised after season 1 he has a greater responsibility, you know, because he got all those messages about how it helped people. And he thought, Ricky Gervais then thought for season 2, I should actually take this, not that he wasn't already taking it seriously, but he should take it more seriously. and actually do grief justice, you know, in a representation on a TV show, obviously. Yeah, it's so yeah, season 3 looks like it's gonna happen. So that's good.
And he's signed a deal with Netflix, like overall deal.
Mm. And for a lot of money, and it's well deserved because he's providing some much needed entertainment.
Yeah, I'm a huge, big Ricky Gervais fan. Like, you know,
and I completely understand why he's like. There's a lot of people that don't like him. I completely see why, and I would never say you should like him because everyone's entitled to criticize if they don't like him, and that's perfectly fine. And that's something he agrees with as well. He's like, it's your right to dislike me as well, which makes me more of a fan of him that he says those things.
Yeah. Like, he just seemed to me like I understand him, and you know, and like kind of what you know, like what he's kind of stands for, and like that he isn't, you know, he says, like, he openly says that, like, these are just jokes, like, you know, it doesn't mean that I believe all of these, like, believe these things. Like, he basically said, like, you know, people think I go running into a church shouting about
you know, but he's saying it in his own on his own like in his own space is what I mean.
Yeah.
And that's good. Yeah.
Anything that you've been
still watching The Office slowly. We've talked about that already. I don't know if I mentioned this on the last podcast. I've been playing Red Dead Redemption 2, which is really amazing. I mean, it's I'll talk about that for a little bit. That's like you're a big GTA fan, aren't you?
Yeah.
So it's very similar the structure of the game is to GTA, except the map is way bigger.
Okay.
Because it's all countryside.
Yeah.
But it's just outrageously realistic. A couple of things to just explain to you, like what it's like is. Buildings will be in construction in towns. Like, people will be like nailing in wood and stuff as you ride through a town. And if you come back like in a week later in the game time, the building will be half built. So it's building in real time over weeks throughout the game. So you can come back to that town near the end, and it'll be a complete building. You know, everyone, all the NPCs in the game are just they have their routines and they're doing things. And if you go into a town and get into a fight and you completely forget about it and you go off and complete a bunch of the story and you come back, some guy will come up to you like, "You're not welcome here, mister." After what, you know, after just getting into a little fight.
Wow.
Like, yeah, everything is remembered and reacts back to you.
How?
Yeah, it's
incredible.
Really cool. Yeah, it's quite. They've gone out their way to make it like a slower paced game. So you actually have to clean your horse, you know, feed your horse. You have to keep your stamina up by eating beans and things like that. And the you know, Rockstar stories, Rockstar characters, amazing.
Oh man.
Yeah. And it's the problem with the game is it's a real investment of time. You can't just sit down and play it for an hour. You have to sit down and play it for 2 hours.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really good. And the musicals, the score and everything, it's so Western. You're just like riding through the plains and there's like wildebeest running over the hills, and you know, you know exactly what Rockstar can do.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite games, just have to say it, have to get it in here, one of my favorite games of all time, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas.
Yeah.
That I've played that. I think I've played the story of that game about 6 times, maybe 7. Like, just like, absolutely loved that game. Like, still do. Think about it. Still probably will play it again someday. Like, you know, big hope for a future where I see a San Andreas sequel, but like, yeah.
So I think that'll do it for today. Excuse me. Thank you very much, Dale.
Thank you, Harry,
for joining me for this. And yeah, we'll watch. I'll watch The Help, and you watch The Thing, and
we'll watch The Thing.
We'll come back next week to talk about it, and that'll be really exciting.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks a lot, and I'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Cheers, and don't forget to like and subscribe.